Hello everyone, I'm Lex Ellis, you're watching Games with Lex Ellis, and welcome to another game video. Now today I'm going to be talking about Doom for the PlayStation. Now most people will probably go be thinking, why is he talking about Doom? Now Doom for the PC obviously is the best version, it was the original. I want to talk about Doom for the PlayStation because it was the first time I ever played Doom was on the PlayStation. And one thing I liked about it was they completely replaced the soundtrack. The weird thing about Doom is, it seems like a simplistic game. The PlayStation can run Metal Gear Solid, but it can't run the full version of Doom. Now, you're thinking, yes it can. It can't technically. The only way it ran was they disabled. One of the ways to get to run was they stopped animated textures. If you look at the textures in Doom for the PlayStation, they don't animate, they're just still. Whereas the PC version are animated. Another thing I quite liked was it was rendered. They had shadows and more like, it's almost OpenGL effects on it. The original one didn't have, so it was dynamic lighting. That was pretty good rather than static. And the soundtrack was completely replaced, all this heavy paced rock, and the soundtrack was very scary and very synthy, and it was like a horror film soundtrack. It's like and you're on your own in these big bits, and it's like, first time playing it, it's quite creepy. And it was scary for me because I first played it on the easiest setting, because I'd never played it before. I wanted to see what it was like, so I played it in the easiest setting, and it was desolate, there was no one else around, so I was just like, shit, what is this? And first the zombie sounds, the CD quality sounds and all that stuff were absolutely top notch, and everything had been improved with it. The sounds, everything was top notch, I loved it, and the extra lighting really made it a lot scarier. So Doom for the PlayStation is really good. I loved how fast the first time I played it, I was amazed how fast you run in Doom. It's like, boom, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I picked it up, I seen it, I played Doom 3 at first and I thought, oh, the original Doom, picked it up for PlayStation. Really good, probably one of my favourite version of Doom is the Xbox Live Arcade version, because the control scheme is absolutely perfect. It is top notch with the controller, the analogues to turn, none of this having to run it on DOSBox. I personally, when I play on the PC, I use Z-Doom because you can use a mouse and the controls are easier rather than having to be assigned to having to hit Alt to strafe and stuff. And it's quite, if I was in the 90s I'd get used to it, I'd be a pro, but it's quite hard now. Yes, I just use the Xbox version that is the best because you can use the Xbox Live multiplayer, although everyone in the one has a crappy connection. There's not as many people play it nowadays, but it's good for the achievements and Doom 1 and Doom 2. And one thing I liked about Doom for the PlayStation as well is it had Doom 1 and Doom 2 in it, like 2 games in one, and it let you choose the settings at the start, and it was a very epic version. Plus it wasn't very similar. It was like anyone that's played Doom 64 as well. It had a very scary soundtrack. Doom 64 was quite creepy, new graphics, new everything. Completely new engine pretty much with new features. That's the same it was for Doom for the PlayStation. It's very creepy, it's very atmospheric, it wasn't as heavy as the original, and it was very hard rock, it was very creepy. Really good. I think it gave it a new perspective to Doom. You could be a hardened Doom player and still find it quite creepy. It was quite long and changed some of the levels, like the pillars were gone, minor changes, but still very good. But Doom amazed me because there were so many consoles that couldn't run it at the time. The PC was what it was developed on, it could run fine on that, but even the PlayStation can run Metal Gear Solid, you know, it can't run Doom. And it's really strange to think that, like the Game Boy Advance version of Doom, which I loved, it was really good. It lagged a wee bit of frame rate problems, but I find the frame rate problems are exaggerated because most people, when they play the Game Boy version, play it on an emulator, and I find it runs not very well on the emulators. It's not very well emulated. Playing it on the original one, on the actual console, I had a much better frame rate. The soundtrack was, I quite liked it, it was quite cute, it was very like Doom in 16-bit. It was quite interesting. For the Game Boy, the control scheme as well, you had to hit up and B to change. A few other things were really good about it. The cheats had also been changed so they could work on the Game Boy, which I quite liked. I think Doom for the PlayStation, the only thing I don't like is it doesn't allow multiplayer. Like, you can't have a deathmatch with the 2 controllers plugged in, you have to use the system link, and I thought, I don't know anyone who used system link. I mean, could you imagine it, right, big PlayStation, I'm going to my friend's house, just hump your PlayStation along, you know, oh, here we go, plonk that there. Do you really imagine doing that with the power cable and all that hassle? just to play a deathmatch of Doom that you should be able to do. That was the only bit I don't like about it. They done all these fancy features, but they didn't. It was a password system, and you couldn't save the game. It was a password system, I think. But and you had to use system link for multiplayer. That's the only things I don't like about it. Otherwise, really good game, really good take on Doom. Much more different. If you like, I played it and it's really creepy. And another thing for Z-Doom, you can get it's the same game, but it runs it's the PSX. Someone sort of ported that to run in Z-Doom with all the fancy effects and stuff in the same soundtrack, which is good. The only thing I find is sometimes it can get off dark on the PC version. Monitor, you're fine. I find on the PlayStation version, but on the PC version, it can get awful dark. That's my only complaint. Now, Doom, you'll find is very similar if you've played Medal of Honor Underground. I think it plays very similar to that in the control scheme. Very similar to that indeed. But yeah, the PlayStation version, you should definitely try it out. And Doom 64. Doom 64 is hard because playing it on an emulator, the Nintendo 64 controller on a keyboard doesn't go down very well. It's very complicated. Super Mario 64 is okay as well. Zelda's okay, but Doom can be a little bit tricky due to the strafing controls and stuff. You have to hit Y and Z now, and you're sitting on the controller. It's a bit complicated at times, but you can adjust it and get used to it. You can always use a controller if you wish. I think you can get some USB Nintendo 64 ones, or ones in the style of it. I don't know, maybe, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. Download it. I think it's like 300 meg or something like that. It's not very big. It's quite small, but yeah, really liked it. Really new take on Doom, new graphics and stuff. Plus, when your guy dies, his head explodes. So that's always a new feature. Rather than just falling asleep. That's what I used to think. I used to think I used to say, look, he's falling asleep, he dies. Oh, it was just so casual, he just wouldn't even care. And of course, the grin, he picks up a weapon. It's like, yeah, you know, a chain gun. But yeah, definitely give it a look. It's a very new thing. The soundtrack alone, I still just listening to it on YouTube. In fact, after this video, I highly recommend you go on Doom. Just type in Doom PSX music hanger. It's really creepy. Really good, and especially I find the game's scarier if you play it on an easier difficulty. If you want a scare, turn down the lights, turn up the volume, and play it on an easier difficulty like the first one. There's no enemies. It's really creepy, long corridors, acid, lava. It really adds to it. But definitely check it out. You won't be disappointed. Anyhow, that's me discussed Doom. I was going to discuss the PC version, but the PlayStation, like I said, really stood out to me. It was a lot more different. But if you really want the best Doom experience, I recommend you do want to pay for it. Try getting Doom and downloading some mods using it in Z-Doom. But if you want the best experience, the easiest to use, I highly recommend buying it on Xbox. Doom 1 and Doom 2, it'll cost you about £5 each, so about £10 you'd pay for both of them. 500 points I believe they are each. So 400 I think. So yeah, and yeah, just use the controls. Your left to left to sprint, and strafing can be used with analogs. Really good. So yeah, definitely check it out, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave me your feedback in the comments. If you like this one and want to see more, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.